The Lord is explained here to be Adokshaja, beyond the reach of all material calculation. Akshaja means the measurement of our senses, and Adokshaja means that which is beyond the measurement of our senses. Text 26. Sa ahato vishwajita hi avajnaya paribhrahmat gatra udastalochanaha vishirna bahau angri shiroruhu patat yatha nagendra lulito nabha swata. Translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation: though struck indifferently by the Lord, the conqueror of all, the demon's body began to wheel. His eyeballs bulged out of their sockets, his arms and legs broken, and the hair on the head scattered. He fell down dead like a gigantic tree uprooted by the wind. Purport: it does not take even a moment for the Lord to kill any powerful demon, including Hiranyaksha. The Lord could have killed him long before, but he allowed the demon to display the full extent of his magical feats. One may know that by magical feats, by scientific advancement of knowledge, or by material power, one cannot become the equal of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His one signal is sufficient to destroy all our attempts. His inconceivable power, as displayed here, is so strong that the demon, despite all his demoniac maneuvers, was killed by the Lord when the Lord desired, simply by one slap. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Tam mushtibhir vinighnantam vajrasharer adhokshajah karena karnamulehan yatha tvastram marutpatihi sahato vishwajitahi avajnaya paribhrahmad gatra udastalochana vishrishna baho angri shiroruho patat yatha nagendra lulito nabhaswata. So, Hare Krishna, all of you. Thank you. The description of the war between Hiranyaksha and Supreme Lord is continuing here in these verses. Yesterday, in the class we heard that the Lord appeared to be within the clutches or within the embrace of Hiranyaksha, but next moment the Supreme Lord was somewhere outside of his embrace, bewildering the mind of Hiranyaksha. And the extension of the theme is seen in this particular verse, where the Lord is described as Adhokshaja, beyond the ranges of the senses. One will never be able to understand Krishna unless Krishna chooses to favor someone with his divine grace, by which he will anoint the eyes of devotees with love to see him. Otherwise, it's not possible with any amount of speculation to even understand Krishna. What to speak of seeing him? We can't even understand him with all this speculation. Srila Prabhupada, many a times during his speech with various scientists and the Mayavadi scholars, he would say, one thing which we would see that Srila Prabhupada would always say that you can never try to capture Krishna with your mundane calculation. He will insist on that. He will emphasize this point again and again to whoever he meets, he speaks to. It's not possible, he would say, that with your you can capture with your mundane calculation Krishna. It's not possible. Krishna will remain a riddle for you, he will say. He is a riddle, cannot figure out. Krishna can pass an elephant through the eye of the needle, as we have all heard. But it's very difficult to comprehend for one who has the speculative eyes, these things, these pastimes, what is being described. So, Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, he reserves the right to not to expose himself to someone who is trying to capture him through the telescope or through some electronic microscope. Not possible. I won't be visible for them. Naham prakasha sarvasya. I only reveal myself to the devotees who approach me with sincerity. Otherwise not. Srila Prabhupada would explain this philosophy by comparing such classes of people who want to understand God with a mundane knowledge. He will say the frog in the well, or the blotting frog, all that kind of an example he will say, puffed up frog. In Ishopanishad, in the introduction, Srila Prabhupada explains in some of the points. He says there, first you have to establish God. He doesn't immediately start philosophy and all. First you have to establish God, he will say. We sometimes would wonder that, the philosophy, why not start with the philosophy, then everything else will follow anyway. But then he will insist on this. He will say, first you have to establish God. And then Srila Prabhupada explains the 4 defects. Without this, he won't begin anything. It's very important for a person to understand the limitations, to grasp this subject matter. And then he will introduce Vedic literature to people. Why Srila Prabhupada talks about 4 defects before introduction of Vedic literature is because people won't respect Vedic literature if they don't become humble, and humility comes when we overcome those 4 defects. So it's very important, this criterion. People generally see the Vedic literature with the eye of disrespect. What kind of depth it has, they have no idea. What kind of substance it has, they have no idea. What kind of an insight Vedic literature have, they have no clue about it. That's why Srila Prabhupada doesn't begin with Vedic literature directly. he begins with 4 defects. First you admit that you have 4 defects. And then we'll talk later, further. Nobody can escape that because it's a fact that there are 4 defects. How can we escape? And anyone who is trying to see this world with these 4 defects and try to write books or try to write journals or come up with scientific theories, it's all going to be defective. Everyone in this world is, in one sense, blind, dumb, and deaf. Although they seems to have eyes, ears, and all that, senses, it seems that they are really blind in one sense. Everyone is trying to bluff by saying something, by interpreting things. Blind is trying to touch an elephant and they are speaking different things about the elephant. This is what is happening, in fact. They cannot ascertain the truth by just touching an elephant and saying something which they have to perceive it. And as long as they don't accept Vedic authority, they are sure to be, bewildered. That is a fact which we all understand, because when we read Prabhupada's teachings, we understand these facts which has been very elaborately been explained there. In Srimad Bhagavatam, one section in the 10th canto, there is a chapter in which the description is there about, it's very interesting, in fact. There are some 3-4 verses which shows Krishna's Leela may appear to be mundane or human, yet it's transcendental. Those verses in a very unique way explains these things. It may appear mundane, but it's transcendental. There are a few points in that. How Krishna very practically and tangibly is proving that his activities are transcendental in those verses. Bhagavatam is explaining that. It's mentioned there in that chapter that both Madhavas, it's referring to Krishna and Balaram, saying both Madhavas, Krishna and Balaram, were quickly ran away, swiftly, imitating human behavior, running away. Seeing whom? Jarasandha. They swiftly ran away. They were not fearful. It continues like that. It says they were not fearful, but as if cowered and frightened, they were running. And they ran for many yojanas. See these things which have been explained there. They were not fearful, but still they acted like a coward, frightened, and they were running for yojanas. They were running. Running away persons are never glorified in scriptures, first of all. It's considered a great blemish for a Kshatriya to be running away from the war field. And it's mentioned that they ran away as coward. It is said like that. And seeing the two Madhavas, Krishna and Balaram, running away, what was Jarasandha doing? Jarasandha was laughing loudly. See, these people have run away, seeing me. He was laughing very loudly. And then, what did he do? He pursued them. He ran behind them, trying to catch Krishna and Balaram. with all his, foot soldiers and charioteers. He just chased. He could not understand the exalted position of the two lords. Jarasandha was running as if a moth running towards a fire. You see, sometimes that was his situation, the way he was running. Behind Krishna, the analogy is like that. The moth is running towards the fire. Imminent death, actually. Is just moving towards that. And then it is said that after running a long distance, the Lord appeared to be exhausted. He appeared to be, those are the words being used, appeared to be exhausted. And then what did an exhausted person do? Climbed a high mountain. Imagine. So high. Will you be able to run towards Kanakpura and then climb the VK hill also? You'll be exhausted by the time you reach there. And then when you see that thing, you will think of taking some rest and have some glass of water. So when Bhagavatam explains, he says, they were apparently appearing to be exhausted, and then they climbed a steep mountains very high. So we see here two opposites are mentioned in these verses, wherever we go. Generally, when we are tired, we sit in some place and drink water. But both these lords are climbing a very high mountain. And they were able to climb the mountain very quickly in that exhaustive state. And they jumped also from that. From such a height. Somewhere around 11 yojanas or something was described. And no fracture, nothing. If we jump from some height, we know what will happen to us. So the Lord jumped from such a high mountain. The purport says in that particular verse that, so one can easily see that how much they both were enjoying doing all these things. In fact, they were enjoying doing all these things. Eagerly fleeing from somewhat ridiculous king Jarasandha. That's how it's been mentioned. Somewhat ridiculous king Jarasandha, who was racing up a mountain. And then both of them, what they did? They jumped off. They jumped off, totally befuddling the constantly failing demon who somehow or other never lost confidence in him. He was always thinking that they are in my grasp. I can grab them very soon. In the present day world, even if a demon like Jarasandha is killed by the Lord, he will still think that I can, conquer the Lord, even if he is dead and gone. That is the irony of the present day situation. So, seen without envy, it is mentioned there. Seen without envy or quarrelsomeness, the Lord's pastimes are immensely entertaining. This is what has been mentioned there in the purport. Seen without envy or quarrelsomeness, the Lord's pastimes are immensely entertaining. So, pretending like a human being, appearing to be covered, although fearless, they had tender lotus feet. That's also been mentioned there. Ran all through this mountain and rocks and things. Apparently exhausted, then climbed up a very high mountain, and they jumped off from such height with fire all around them. So after seeing all these aspects, still demon Jarasandha thought he can kill Krishna. After seeing all these things, unhumanly acts what they are doing, but still he thought that I can do something. That shows how foolish this demon was. So the atheistic scientists, with the 4 defects, They are trying to study this whole world. Some person who, who have a difficulty with their eyesight, they may have to go to a doctor to get the right lens in order to see the fine things. Otherwise, there's a possibility that if you don't take that specs, then you may read something else when you're traveling or moving or seeing things. Eyes have to be corrected. So instead of going to a doctor and getting the right lens, then what will happen? We may go to a wrong direction. Because our eyes are defective, we are not able to see things. We may, instead of going to left, we'll go to right because something else we read on the board. So there's a chance of misreading and getting misdirected. So we as devotees, we want to admit that there are 4 human defects. And with these defects, it's useless. It's useless to develop our own worldviews. It's useless to develop our kind of a right literature or writing literatures or make comments or do experiments. We don't want to act like how Jarasandha or the atheistic scientists would act. We don't want to do that. We want to take the help of a spiritual master, a doctor who will give us the right specs. We want to wear it, we want to read things properly and go to the right direction. We want to put the right lens and see things. So modern day atheistic people may think there is no God because I don't see Him. So, as if it's very logical what they are saying. Our eyes are defective, but we have to see through these eyes. How do we see through the same eyes? We can see through these eyes, through the eyes of who has seen the truth. The seer of the truth, through the eyes of the seer of the truth, we can see through him only all these aspects what is being described here. Otherwise it's not possible to understand things as it's described in the Vedic literatures. So, spiritual master is very much required who does that activity, does that service to help us all conditioned souls to come out of this situation we are into. So Krishna is teaching us, he is saying don't speculate. Always try to see through the authorities. He is instructing us time and again. Please don't speculate what is the need of doing all these things. So we all need to be very patient in order to get through these stages. These are various stages which are there. Need to be really patient because the divine revelation is a gradual process. As the Shastras explain, one should not do a hasty dash. It will not help. We all have heard about the Shakha Chandra Nyaya. Haven't you all heard about this? Shakha Chandra Nyaya. We are all, seeking sense gratification in one sense here in this world. The body is designed for it, our present body. Prabhupada would say, it's the best use of the bad bargain. What can be done? Utilizing the same body to, this body can entangle you and this body can liberate you also. But primarily it is designed for sense gratification. And we have to work towards it in order to take this body, take the help of this body and get out of this place. So Srila Prabhupada says it's the best use of the bad bargain. We are not able to see in the that moon-like Lord. Chandra. We have Krishna Chandra here. We are not able to see him, moon-like Lord. So the spiritual master, he says, he guides the disciple and he says, first look at the root of the tree. And then he is slowly asking the disciple to move up and start looking up, go up. Quite possible, while doing so, our head may go down again. Because, we are like that. The senses are like that. Spiritual master is saying, look at the root and then go up. And while going up, in between the branches, he shows that you can see now the Chandra which you are saying I am not able to see. Through these two branches of this tree, you can see that moon. He will be trying to locate that moon, and suddenly what will happen? Some cloud would come, and it will cover up the moon. And then that person will say, no, I didn't see the moon. Where is it? So what is happening here is that even after lifting our head, in our spiritual life also when we are progressing, sometimes these ups and downs are there. We would think that we have reached at the doorstep, but then something else will cover it up. So I was saying we need patience in order to go through these stages. So some anarthas will come, some cloud will come, cover us, and we won't be able to see Krishna. Anarthas may take some more time to clear, and quite possible because of our impatience, we will turn our head, the cloud would have gone, and by the time we turn back again some other cloud would have come. And then we think, what's happening in my life? Why am I not progressing? Why after so many years of my japa and hearing, why things are not moving for me? So the thing is that some patience is required, and you have to follow the instructions of spiritual master. Then only we'll be able to clearly see what he is trying to show in between the, he can see the moons just like that, but because you have to be directed like that, you cannot, otherwise you are saying, I cannot see the moon. So he is directing us, go through this, and you can see the moon. No problem. So, moon is not in fact trapped between the two branches of the tree. We should not think in that manner, as if the moon is trapped in between those two branches. Similarly, Krishna is not trapped by any of our material techniques. We may try to figure out him. It won't work out like that. First of all, the devotees have to be thoroughly convinced of the futility of speculation. We have to be thoroughly convinced about the four defects. We need the eye of the Shastra. We should be convinced about it. Otherwise, it's not possible to understand things as they are. And the more we study Shastra and see the world through it, then we will understand that the Shastras are indeed true. We'll understand that. Shastras teach us about three modes of material nature. I know how many of you are going out for preaching. You ask people outside, they have no clue what you are talking about. Three modes of material nature. Shastras are giving us this insight. Why things are happening in their life and life around them, they're bewildered and not able to understand. We are able to see that because of taking the guidance of the Shastra. Through the Shastra Chakshu, we are able to see how these modes are working. See how he is caught up, how his surroundings are all caught up in that manner. We are able to see, but because they have no idea about it, they are bewildered. And what happens? Because they are unable to understand this, what is the phenomena happening around them, so they come up with this, some hypothesis. Okay, this might be the reason, that might be the reason. The speculation begun already. And what happens as a result of that? It creates havoc in this material world. So these senses that we have are simply like a blanket over the soul. In fact, Srila Prabhupada mentions this I believe in the 3rd canto. Srila Prabhupada says that this material body is like a blanket over the body. Over the soul, sorry. Over the soul, this material body is like a blanket. Our real senses are in the soul. And so we have to awaken the true spiritual senses. And we have to discard these mundane senses. And then we look at the deities with that awakened senses. When we look at the deities, what happens? Pratima tumi nahi. What will happen? You will conclude you are not a Pratima. Pratima tumi nahi. Then what is it? Tumi sakshat Vrajendra Nandana. With our mundane senses, what are we seeing? Oh, some Pratima. When we awaken the senses of the soul, you will start seeing Vrajendra Nandan standing in front of you. But all this requires time. We have to give time. We have to be patient. The process is perfect. There is no problem with the process. Problem is with us. There is no problem with Krishna. There is no problem with Krishna's process. The problem is with us. And then the spiritual master is trying to guide us through it. So we need to be patient. That's what is required. So, when one comes to the adhokshaja and aprakrita stage, we'll understand these aspects, what the Vedic literatures are trying to tell us. Srila Prabhupada in dozens of lectures has spoken about this subject matter. I'm not saying anything new here. It's all the same. So here the word used is tam mushtibhi. Hiranyaksha made quite a lot of endeavor to maneuver. The right word used is maneuver. He was trying to maneuver over the Lord, trying to catch him, trying to kill him. He tried to attack the Lord in various ways using his fists. Now knowing that, not knowing that the Supreme Lord is Adhokshaja, who is beyond the measurement of one's senses. His inconceivable power, he could not understand. He's so strong that he just, Prabhupada is saying that if the Lord wanted, he would have killed Hiranyaksha at any given point of time. But then he was having some time with him, the demon. And at the end, when the Lord desired, what did he do? Simply one slap on the root of the ear. And there he fell on the ground, dead. So Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport that the Lord could have killed him long before, but he allowed the demon to display the full extent of his magical feats. He will allow all of us, if we are having these demoniac propensities, to try and see how you want to catch me. One may know that by magical feats, Prabhupada says, or by scientific advancement of knowledge, or by material power, one cannot become equal of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His one signal is sufficient to destroy all our attempts. But then we have not stopped. We are still continuing in this material world, trying to figure out the Lord in some way or the other. His inconceivable power as displayed here is so strong that the demon, despite all his demoniac maneuvers, was killed by the Lord when the Lord desired, simply by one slap. Hare Krishna. Stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanande.